Have you ever had the feeling that, even without realizing it, what you say in moments of anger, doubt, or fear later manifests itself accurately? It's as if there was an invisible echo responding to what we verbalize, even if it's a whisper of despair or a casual phrase from everyday life. This experience is not a coincidence. There exists a hidden intelligence, a sacred grammar, that governs the bridge between the invisible world and the material world. Contrary to popular belief, it's not only grand speeches or elaborate prayers that hold power. It's the simple act of uttering, of naming, of verbalizing, even without clear intention, that awakens forces capable of transforming internal landscapes and shaping external realities. Since time immemorial, entire civilizations have held that the universe was created through the Word. In the Christian tradition, we find, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." This is not a poetic metaphor, but a code that echoes in other traditions. In ancient Egypt, creation was attributed to the divine word of Ta. In the Vedas, it is the primal sound, the Om, that initiates all manifestation. This convergence among cultures shows that the word, the sound articulated with intention, has always been considered the archetype of the Creator. And if the universe began with the word, then everything that exists vibrates under this same cosmic grammar. What we speak, think, and repeat is inevitably embedded in this network that communicates directly with the fabric of reality. Modern science is beginning to glimpse what mystics have always known. Scholars like Masaru Emoto have shown how written or spoken words influence the structures of water, shaping crystals based on the emotional vibration of language. This is more than a curiosity. Our body is primarily composed of water. This means that the words we say, hear, and think biologically impact our physical, emotional, and energetic system. They reprogram matter silently. The grammar we use is not neutral. Each verb carries weight. Each statement is a seed. But why then, if words hold so much power, do many people keep talking about healing and remain ill, claiming prosperity and still live in scarcity? The answer lies in the invisible field of intention, congruence, and resonance. Saying something without believing, verbalizing without feeling, repeating without internal coherence, is like throwing words into the wind without roots. The universe responds to vibration, not just sound. The word is merely the shell. The content that drives creation lies in the energy with which it is emitted. It's not just about repeating positive phrases, but about realigning the entire internal field with what is being said. It is in this congruence that true magic is born. Language, in this context, is a bridge. It connects the mind with the spirit, the invisible with the visible, desire with materialization. In ancient cultures, the word was treated as sacred because it was known that to speak was to create. To name something was to give it existence. And this still happens today, but we are numb to such responsibility. We repeat phrases, curse ourselves with self-deprecating jokes, decree failures with, "It's not going to work out. My life is a mess. Nothing works for me." Each of these sentences is an order that inscribes itself in the energy field and begins to germinate like any seed thrown to the earth. Words are like commands given to the universe, but unlike a simple button to press, they are multi-purpose, multi-dimensional, and affect everything around them. The grammar of miracles is the study of this profound language that operates behind the veil of common logic. It's not something learned in schools. It's an ancestral, visceral wisdom that reveals itself in silence and in practice. Intellectual understanding is not enough. One must feel the verb, breathe with intention, and observe each word as if it were a brush shaping tomorrow. There is a fundamental difference between technical language and vibrational language. The former is for basic, functional communication. The latter communicates with the plane of creation. It speaks to the invisible. It activates codes lying dormant in your energy field. When we say "I am," we are touching the name of existence. When we affirm "it is done," we are signing a vibrational contract with the universe. The word is not just a tool. It is a power that we have not yet fully understood. And it is precisely by underestimating this power that we continue to create chaos instead of order, pain instead of healing. The human mind is a ceaseless emitter of language. Even in silence, we continue to think, and every thought is internal language. What you think about yourself, about life, about others, is constantly emitting a frequency. These vibrations group together and form patterns. These patterns shape behaviors, situations, encounters, and misunderstandings. Nothing is loose. Everything follows an invisible linguistic pattern. We are all the time dialoguing with a higher intelligence, but as we use a corrupted grammar, based on doubt, fear, denial, we receive back distorted echoes of what we wanted to manifest. Studying ancient languages such as Hebrew and Sanskrit, we realize that there are words that mean more than just something. They vibrate with purpose. They are phonemes that, when emitted, resonate with specific energetic portals. The name of God in Hebrew, for example, the famous tetragram YHWH, is not pronounceable in the conventional way. It is pure breath, because even the air that enters and exits our lungs carries a verb. The verb is in everything. It is in music, in the sound of birds, in the laughter of a child, in thunder. The universe speaks, the universe listens, and we are in the middle of this conversation. When we understand that reality is a vibrational construct and that the word is one of the most accessible and potent tools to shape this vibration, we become aware that we are creators by nature. We create when we speak, when we remain silent, when we think. There is no neutrality. Either we are healing or we are hurting. Either we are calling miracles or pushing them away. And this happens not only at specific moments, but every minute, in every conversation, in every breath. The verb is constant, and therefore, the grammar of miracles is a field that requires constant attention. As we progress, you'll realize that everything you believed about language and creation is merely the surface. There are deeper layers where the verb acts as a spiritual agent, where each sentence becomes a decree, each word a seed, each affirmation a summons. This is not a pretty theory, it's a powerful reality that is already at work in your life, whether you understand it or not. The difference is that now, by becoming aware, you begin to write your own vibrational gospel. And this gospel can be a path of miracles if you decide to align your speech with your essence. So, if up until now you have not expressed what you so desire, it may be time to look beyond the content of your requests and investigate the grammar with which these requests are made. Because the universe does not understand words, it responds to the vibration that exists behind them. And if this vibration is misaligned, the verb loses strength and the miracle is not completed. But when verb, intention, and feeling vibrate in unison, reality bends before you. Ever since humans began to articulate sounds with intent, words have taken on the role of a link between the individual and the mystery. But there's a common and profound mistake, thinking that praying is just repeating preset phrases, memorized or called upon in moments of urgency. True prayer is not confined to speech. It is the energy that vibrates behind the verb. It is the silent intention that accompanies each word. When you say, "I can't take it anymore," that too is a prayer. When you murmur, "It's tough," that is also a vibrational decree. Everything you verbalize carries a frequency, and the universe does not distinguish between a plea, a joke, or a venting. It simply responds. The act of praying has been profoundly emptied by centuries of mechanical repetition. Words sanctified by generations have become empty mantras, echoed by mouths that no longer know what they feel. But real prayer is alive. It is a verb pulsating with coherent emotion, loaded with presence. The physics of creation does not respond to beautiful phrases, but to the energetic congruence between thought, feeling, and word. To pray in spirit and in truth, as Christ said, is precisely this practice of aligning the internal with what is expressed externally. This requires more than faith. It requires full presence. It is in this state that the word not only implores but creates. Most people do not reap the fruits of their prayers because they are not aware of the vibrational field they uphold when praying. Often, what they ask for is laden with fear, doubt, and scarcity. They pray for healing while vibrating in sickness. They pray for abundance while cultivating the fear of lack. This inconsistency neutralizes the verb. It is not enough to speak, one must live the word as an already manifested reality. The universe is like a highly sensitive mirror. It reflects not just what we say, but what we are when we say it. The most powerful prayer is not the one that pleads. It's the one that recognizes, affirms, and honors what already is. There is a prayer that occurs all the time, even when we're not on our knees or with our eyes closed. It's the internal prayer, the monologue that echoes silently in our thoughts. This voice that whispers in the back of the mind, day after day, has more power than any prayer recited mechanically, because it is constant, charged with beliefs, and fueled by the deepest emotions. If this voice says, "This will never work out. Things always go wrong for me. I have no worth," then that will be the reality that will unfold in the material world. The universe is a great listener to what you say to yourself. True prayer is a state of consciousness. It is a complete alignment that starts from the heart, goes through the mind, and is expressed in words. It is a fusion of intention and certainty. In this context, the word is not used to convince an external God, but to realign the quantum field around us. Each word charged with faith is a wave that propagates and structures itself in the invisible field. And this field, in turn, organizes events, people, opportunities, and situations according to the vibration it has received. When the word is spoken with full confidence, the miracle has already begun, even if the eyes cannot yet see it. Neuroscience has proven that words not only affect the brain of the listener, but also modify the brain structure of the speaker. Each time you affirm something with conviction, you reinforce neural connections associated with that reality. This means that spoken prayer is also a tool for mental reprogramming. Furthermore, it activates areas of the brain linked to creativity, intuition, and focus. When you pray with presence, you are not only speaking to the universe, you are shaping your own internal system to receive what you have verbalized. Prayer then becomes both a request and a preparation. There are prayers that are not spoken with words, but with actions and choices. The way you live your day is also a type of prayer. Each act of gratitude, every gesture of compassion, every conscious choice, all of this sends out vibrational messages as powerful as words. And on the other hand, every act of self-punishment, every unconscious repetition of negative patterns, also communicates an intention to the universe, even if it's not verbalized. When we understand this, we realize that we are praying all the time, even when we think we are not. Life is a constant liturgy, and the word is its main music. Neville Goddard, one of the great masters of the creative word, taught that everything begins in the imagination. According to him, praying is to assume the feeling of the desire fulfilled and to speak from that place. It's not about asking for something, but affirming that it already is, it already exists, it has already manifested on the invisible plane. That's why your words should not ask, they should declare. And for that, it is necessary to change the internal state before opening your mouth. I am prosperous, I am healed, everything works for my good. These are not just beautiful phrases. They are commands that vibrate with a state of certainty, not doubt. And this is the kind of verb that creates worlds. The paradox lies in the fact that many say, "I want" and "I need," without realizing that these words are rooted in absence. They affirm that what is desired is still distant, it does not yet exist, and thus they perpetuate the vibrational distance between what is asked for and what is received. The grammar of miracles does not respond to desire, it responds to the vibration of possession. The most effective prayer is not the one that cries out in desperation, but the one that gives thanks, as if it has already been received. This inversion of logic transforms the verb into a channel of accomplishment, and when you start living in this state, words cease to be pleas and become manifestations. Many who call for change continue to verbally support the reality they wish to abandon. They say they want peace, but they repeat stories of pain. They want abundance, but express scarcity. They want love, but talk about rejection. This dichotomy cancels out the creative power of the word. The verb needs to be consistent with the new reality, not the old one. It is necessary to train the mouth to speak of what is not yet seen, but already vibrates within you. This is faith in motion, and this verbalized faith restructures the field around you, not like magic, but as a natural response to aligned vibration. For the word to become a real prayer, constant training is necessary. Observe each sentence, correct each verbal automatism that contradicts your intention. It is a process of purifying the verb, a linguistic fast that abandons complaints, criticism, judgment, and denial. From this verbal silence, a new vocabulary can emerge, a vocabulary that creates, sustains, transforms. The true prayer is born in this fertile ground, where each word is chosen with love, spoken with faith, and sealed with certainty. It is there that the miracle begins to take shape. If you're already creating at every moment, even without realizing it, then the power lies in becoming aware of this process. Praying is not just bending your knees and closing your eyes. It's living in a way that makes the word an extension of the soul. Each word, an altar. Each sentence, a seed. Each conversation, a sacred act. The word prays, and when it prays with faith, it not only asks, it creates. Long before institutionalized religions, long before modern schools of language and communication, there were those who mastered the art of speaking with the gods, the elements, the stars, and the invisible layers of existence. They were priests, shamans, magicians, mystics, and initiates who understood language not as a social convention, but as a sacred system for accessing the secrets of creation. For these wise individuals, the word was not a cultural construct, but a divine instrument, a channel to manipulate, shape, and reorganize reality. It was not enough to know how to speak. It was necessary to know how to vibrate the correct word, at the exact time, with the precise intention. This was the hidden science of living words. These codes were not taught in the squares, nor were they available to the common people. They were revealed in rituals, after tests, silences, vigils, and years of purification. Because the misused word, even though powerful, could generate destruction. Therefore, in ancient civilizations, the sacred verb was veiled, encrypted, and given only to those who had prepared their inner field to receive it. In ancient Egypt, the priests of Thoth, the god of wisdom and writing, understood that each hieroglyph not only represented a sound or concept, but also an archetype, an energetic portal. Speaking was opening portals. Writing was recording forces in the earthly plane. In Atlantis, according to esoteric traditions preserved by initiatory societies, the word was an advanced science that combined sound, color, geometry, and intention. Each word was like a vibrational formula, capable of healing diseases, altering molecular structures, and influencing time. This science was lost, or rather hidden after the fall of civilization, but its echoes can still be perceived in indigenous traditions, in shamanic chants, in ancient litanies, in psalms, mantras, and prayers that persist to this day. There is an ancient wisdom that insists on not dying because it carries the maps of return to the origin, to the source. Among the Hebrews, the name was more than identity, it was destiny. Someone's name contained their purpose, their spiritual mission, and to pronounce certain divine names was considered an act of immeasurable power. The sacred tetragram, YHWH, was so powerful that it could not be pronounced by just anyone. Only the high priest, once a year, in the Holy of Holies, would whisper the name in a state of absolute purity. This is because this name was not just a title for God, but a frequency that activated the code of creation. By vibrating this name, the priest literally tuned into the field of the original source. In the East, traditions such as Hinduism and Buddhism have preserved the use of mantras as a way to activate higher states of consciousness. The mantra Om Mani Padme Hum, for example, is not just a sequence of sounds. It's an energy configuration that resonates with compassion, wisdom, and enlightenment. Sanskrit, the mother tongue of many of these mantras, is considered a sacred language precisely because its syllables were not arbitrarily constructed. Each sound carries a specific vibration that affects the practitioner's body, mind, and subtle field. It's a grammar of power, a music of spiritual access. The language of the initiated transcends semantics. It operates through resonance. When an initiate utters a sacred word, they are not just communicating, they are activating a field. That's why rituals are accompanied by precise intonations, rhythmic breaths, symbolic gestures, and body postures that amplify the word's emission. The sound emitted in a state of expanded consciousness is completely different from that produced by a scattered mind. The word, in this case, is an extension of the being. And the purer the being, the more potent the word that emanates from it. The distinction between profane language and sacred language was clear among the ancients. The former was used for everyday life, commerce, politics. The latter was reserved for the sacred, the invisible, the eternal. Mixing both was considered sacrilege, a vibrational contamination. However, over the centuries, this boundary was gradually dissolved. Sacred language was trivialized. Divine words were reduced to clichés. Prayers were transformed into soulless refrains. And with that, humanity lost sensitivity to the hidden power of the word. But the initiates are still among us, silent, discreet, yet aware. They still know the codes. During the Middle Ages, mystical orders and hermetic schools like the Rosicrucians and alchemists secretly preserved this knowledge. In their grimoires, coded texts taught how to manipulate the word to heal, invoke, transmute. Words were combined with symbols, numbers, and natural elements to form powerful formulas. Nothing was random. Each sound, each intonation, each repetition had a purpose. Prayer was science. Enchantment was method. The word was vibrational alchemy. Even when persecuted, these guardians kept the tradition alive. And thanks to them, today we can still access fragments of this legacy. The manipulation of language has always been a tool of power. Empires have risen and fallen because of the word. Words have inflamed crowds, started wars, founded religions, and for this reason, those who wish to control minds have always known. Controlling language is controlling reality. The distortion of words, the substitution of meanings, the normalization of degrading terms, all of this is part of a vibrational engineering process. When you unconsciously repeat terms that carry fear, scarcity, inferiority, you are moving away from the language of the initiated and entering the field of energetic submission. Reclaiming the sacred language is an act of spiritual rebellion. It's choosing to speak as a creator, not as a victim. It's about leaving behind the vocabulary of fear and embracing the grammar of miracles. The Psalms, for example, are not just religious texts. They are vibrational songs that, when chanted with awareness, open fields of protection, healing, and manifestation. The tradition doesn't matter. What matters is the intention. The sacred verb can be found in an African chant, in an indigenous prayer, in a Tibetan sutra, or in a simple phrase spoken with a heart aflame with truth. The divine names, in turn, are keys. Each name of God in different traditions carries a distinct vibration. El Shaddai, Adonai, Abba, Krishna, Shiva, Allah, Tao, all are ways to access specific aspects of the whole. By pronouncing these names with reverence and pure intention, you are connecting with fields of consciousness that transcend the ego. The sacred name is a bridge. It is the call that awakens the divine within you. It's not about religion, it's about vibration. It's about attunement, and that's why the verb of the initiates remains alive, even amidst the noise of the modern world. In the end, all language is magic. Every word is a seed sown in the invisible soil of the universe. The initiates knew this, and you now begin to remember. You begin to hear again the whispers of the forgotten language. You begin to reconnect with the grammar that the gods used to create the heavens and the earth. This grammar is not in the books, but in the heart. It is not learned by theory, but by practice and reverence. And when you start to speak consciously, you are no longer the same. You become a living verb. You become the prayer in motion itself. Everything that exists was, at some level, verbalized before becoming visible. Each building, each bridge, every human invention was first born as a thought, passed through language, and only then took physical form. But the same principle that governs architectural creation also governs personal life events, encounters, losses, miracles, and crises. There is a silent chain, an invisible manifestation process that begins in the field of ideas, travels through the tunnel of the verb, and ends in concrete experience. Thinking is the first step. Speaking, however, is the act that initiates real construction. The verb is the cement of the invisible. It is the tool that gives structure to what was previously only abstraction. The word acts as a quantum trigger. When something is named, it is given existence. When it is described, it begins to take shape. When it is repeated, it gains strength, density, and inevitably, it starts to gravitate in the field of matter. This is not an esoteric metaphor. It is a real description of the co-creation process. The spoken word, when charged with emotion and certainty, collapses possibilities and opens specific paths in the quantum field. The universe is shaped by intention. But for intention to be effective, it needs to be transmitted with vibrational clarity, and the verb is this transmitter. It translates intention into frequency. It records the order in the fabric of time. The human psyche responds to language in a direct way. Studies in psychology show that repeated phrases have the power to alter emotional states, redefine behaviors, and even reconfigure traumatic memories. The brain does not distinguish between imagination and reality when the word is involved. When you tell yourself, "I am weak, I am incapable, I can't," the body begins to align its functions with this command. The cells receive the signal, the hormones follow the frequency, and life adjusts to the verbalized script. Similarly, by repeating, "I am strong, I am at peace, abundance flows to me," the programming reverses. Matter obeys the verb like a loyal servant to the master's command. But the impact of the verb goes beyond the mind and body. It directly influences the energy field around us. Through language, we emit vibrations that interact with everything and everyone. This field, often referred to as an aura, is like an antenna that attracts or repels experiences. Words laden with fear, anger, or doubt contract the field, limit possibilities, block connections. On the other hand, words imbued with faith, love, and gratitude expand the field, increase the frequency, and make reality more malleable. Each conversation, each outburst, each affirmation creates waves that reverberate, shape, and attract. The word is vibrational architecture. In the science of cymatics, we visualize how sound, including the sound of words, affects physical matter. When sound waves pass through surfaces with sand or water, complex geometric shapes emerge in response to the frequency. This proves that sound organizes matter, and if words are articulated sound, they too organize. This discovery is not new. The ancients already knew it. The fiat lux of creation, "Let there be light," is the archetype of the organizing verb. Sound, when imbued with conscious intention, shapes the invisible and structures the visible. The words you emit are constantly drawing patterns around you, patterns that later manifest as events. There are words that heal, words that cleanse cellular records, dissipate harmful emotional patterns, restore inner harmony. Not by chance, in various spiritual traditions, the use of sacred words is central in healing practices. The Ho'oponopono, for example, is a Hawaiian method of energetic cleansing based on the repetition of phrases like, "I'm sorry," "Please forgive me," "I love you," "I'm grateful." These are not just words, they are vibrational commands that restructure the unconscious and reconfigure the energy field. These phrases act on a subtle level, accessing layers of the being that the logical mind cannot reach. The verb is medicine. Sacred geometry is intrinsically linked to language. Powerful words create coherent, harmonious, beautiful shapes. Negative words generate distorted, chaotic patterns. When we speak with love, the vibrational form emitted aligns with the golden ratio, with the rhythm of the cosmos. When we speak with fear, we create distortions. This is the secret grammar of the universe, a language made of light, sound, and form. The verb is the bridge between these three dimensions. When speaking, you not only communicate, you draw, encode, and manifest. Therefore, choosing words wisely is a sacred act of creation. The frequency of love is the highest on the vibrational scale, and when you speak from love, your words become instruments of miracles. Love is not just an emotion, it's a structuring vibration. It organizes, heals, attracts, builds. On the other hand, fear fragments, disintegrates, limits. That's why two people can say the same phrase, but only one will manifest the miracle, the one who speaks with love, certainty, and purity. The same prayer can be empty or full of power, depending on the vibration that accompanies it. Creation does not respond only to the word, it responds to the vibration that is hidden within it. The verb also acts as a mental programming software. It installs beliefs, activates or deactivates internal circuits, shapes decisions, and sustains paradigms. When we repeat an idea several times, we are writing codes in the subconscious. And this subconscious is the direct interface with the field of manifestation. If you repeat that you are unlucky, poor, sick, or unhappy, you are programming the internal system to continue manifesting this script. But if you start to verbalize health, fulfillment, and abundance, even if it initially seems false, over time these words reconfigure internal and external paths. The repetition of the verb is the key to reprogramming. Time is another crucial factor in the anatomy of creation. A word spoken once has an impact, but a word repeated, upheld with faith over time, creates deep roots. It becomes a dense vibrational reality, almost inevitable. Therefore, daily affirmations, morning mantras, prayers before sleeping, all of this is part of the creative ritual. It's not fanaticism, it's vibrational engineering. The universe loves consistency. The verb, repeated with purpose, becomes a constant frequency, and this constancy opens portals, displaces obstacles, and activates miracles. Time, allied with the verb, is a power multiplier. You are at the same time both a transmitter and a receiver. You speak and listen. You proclaim and absorb. Every word that leaves your mouth comes back to you in some form. Every sentence you say to another also shapes your field. Therefore, speaking kindly, even when no one is listening, is an act of spiritual intelligence. You are shaping the environment in which you live. You are imbuing the space with frequencies that, sooner or later, will condense into experiences. The word is invisible action, and every action has a reaction. Speak with intention. Speak with soul. Speak as one who knows they are building the world. By understanding this anatomy of the verb, you cease to be a victim of chance and assume the role of co-creator. You realize that you are not merely an observer of the world, but a vibrational architect. Every word you utter, every sentence you uphold, every pattern you repeat is actively participating in the construction of your reality. There is no neutral word. There is no speech without consequence. The universe is listening, life is responding, and now you hold the key to creation in your tongue. May it be used with wisdom, purpose, and love. At the beginning of every creation, there is silence. Before the first sound, before the first word, there was the void full of potential, the virgin field of existence, where everything rested in a state of pure possibility. It is in this silent space that the word acquires its true strength. Because it is in silence that intention matures, that consciousness aligns, that energy concentrates before being released. Just as the arrow needs to be drawn back to gain momentum, the word needs to be born from deep silence to have a lasting impact. It's no coincidence that all great masters, before speaking, would immerse themselves in silence. This silence is not an absence of sound. It is total presence. It is active listening. It is the sacred creative vacuum. Silence is not the enemy of the word. On the contrary, it is its most powerful ally. When a word is born from mental noise, it carries confusion. When it emerges from emotional turmoil, it carries distortion. But when it springs from silence, it carries clarity, direction, power. The strength of a spiritual decree, of an affirmation, of a prayer, is directly linked to the quality of the silence that precedes it. It is in this gap, in this empty space between one thought and another, between one sound and another, that intention is purified, the mind quiets, and the spirit takes the lead. Whoever masters silence, masters the word, and whoever masters the word, masters reality. Masters from various traditions deeply understood this. In Taoism, the Tao that can be named is not the true Tao. In other words, the supreme principle is so vast, so silent, that it cannot be captured in words. In Buddhism, meditative silence is considered more revealing than 1,000 speeches. In esoteric Christianity, Jesus often withdrew to pray in solitude and silence before performing his greatest miracles. In all profound traditions, the pattern is the same: retreat into silence before uttering the word, not to escape from the world, but to rediscover the center from which every true word must emanate. Meditation is the fertile ground where the miraculous word can germinate. It is in it that the mind quiets, that the ego dissolves, that the vibration stabilizes. In this state of listening, the soul begins to speak, and when a word finally emerges, it is not an escape from reality. It is a gesture of conscious creation. The words spoken after silence carry more weight, more direction, more potency. They are words born from communion with the whole, not from the lack of the self. Therefore, many great teachings did not come in long speeches, but in brief sentences, laden with profound silence between the lines. The word that creates does not shout, it whispers, and its whisper moves mountains. There is a magical space between words, a sacred pause that, although imperceptible, carries its own intelligence. This pause is the interval of creation. Just as music depends on the silence between notes to have rhythm and meaning, spiritual discourse needs the pause to have impact. When we speak incessantly, without pause, without presence, the word loses its power. But when we speak with cadence, with silence between sentences, with space for listening, our words become vibrational anchors. They not only inform, they transform. Each silence is a sacred frame for the word to come. There is a type of silence that heals, that reorganizes internal chaos, that repositions the invisible pieces of our being. And there is a type of verb that can only be heard within this silence. The noisy mind cannot access this level of communication, it only repeats patterns. But in deep silence, it is possible to hear the voice of the Spirit, the word that comes from the source, which was not learned, but remembered. This word is different. It carries no doubt. It needs no proof. It is pure vibration of truth. It is this word that transforms, that instantly heals, that materializes, but it can only be heard by those who have learned to be silent. Silence is also a space of surrender. In it, we cease to control, to demand, to desire to dominate outcomes. We simply open ourselves up. And it is in this opening that the right word can emerge. Because often, what prevents the miracle from happening is not the lack of prayer, but the excess of mental verbosity, the anxious repetition of requests that vibrate scarcity. When we silence, we recognize that we are already part of the miracle. And when we speak from this place, our words stop being pleas and become confirmation. Silence returns us to the original state of conscious co-creators. In today's culture, silence has almost been extinguished. We live bombarded by empty words, by constant noise, by soulless information. Too much is spoken and too little is heard. As a result, the word has lost depth. It has become noisy, superficial, reactive. But it is possible to reclaim the sacred word, and the path inevitably goes through silence. We need to relearn to pause, to breathe before responding, to listen before speaking, to feel before asserting. Silence reconnects us with the Spirit, and the Spirit knows exactly what needs to be said. Words that are born from this place are seeds of light. There is also the internal silence, which is even more powerful than the external silence. It is the state of consciousness where, even surrounded by noise, your mind remains anchored, your soul remains serene, your presence remains firm. In this state, every word is gold. There is no waste. There is no excess. Each verb is a ray of pure intention. Each sentence is an act of intentional creation. The internal silence is the field where the miracle becomes inevitable, because there the mind no longer resists. It only serves the soul, and the soul only speaks what is necessary, the truth, the Creator. Silent prayer is one of the most powerful ways to communicate with the universe. It's when you say nothing with your mouth, but vibrate everything with your being. It's when your heart speaks without words, and your entire presence emanates what you desire. This prayer is faster, deeper, and more precise than any speech, because it does not depend on form. It speaks to the essence. That's why many miracles happen in moments of silence, contemplation, surrender. There, the word is not heard. it's felt. And when the universe feels the vibration of truth, it responds immediately. The duality between sound and silence is an illusion. Both are expressions of the same source. One does not exist without the other. Sound is born from silence and returns to it. Just like breathing, we inhale, sound, we exhale, silence. And between both, the miracle of life occurs. Speaking and being silent are two sides of the same power. The secret lies in knowing when to use each. When to be silent, when to declare. When to silence the world, when to release the word. The wise know that the miracle needs space, and space is created by silence. The word is the seed, but silence is the soil where it germinates. When you learn to honor silence, you begin to hear not just others, but the universe itself. You notice signs, intuitions, answers that were not visible before. Because silence is also a channel of listening, and the miracle responds to listening. The more you listen, the more you receive. The more you receive, the more you can verbalize with wisdom. The cycle completes itself, and then the word becomes sacred again. It is born from silence and returns to it. And in this eternal cycle, you become the conscious creator of your reality. You wake up, get out of bed, perhaps look in the mirror and already mutter phrases like, "I'm so tired. Here we go again." Or maybe, "Today is going to be tough." Unnoticed, your day has already been programmed by a verbal code emitted while your eyes are still half closed. Most people live without realizing that the reality they experience is a direct reflection of the language they use daily. Each word spoken is a command, a seed sown in the vibrational field, and what's most impressive is that these seeds sprout even when planted on autopilot. Linguistic programming happens with or without your attention, and it is precisely for this reason that the majority of humanity lives in repetitive cycles of limitation, scarcity, and frustration. The words we repeat daily have a much deeper impact than we imagine. They don't just describe the world, they build it. When someone says several times a day phrases like, "I don't have time," "This is impossible," "I'm unlucky," "Nobody understands me," or "This always happens to me," this person is inserting self-sabotaging codes into their own reality matrix. These expressions, as common and seemingly harmless as they may be, carry dense frequencies, which structure experiences compatible with their vibration, and the brain, in turn, adapts. It begins to operate within these linguistic parameters, reinforcing the corresponding behaviors and beliefs. Everyday language often carries inherent programming of fear, scarcity, comparison, judgment, and limitation. Television, social media, mundane conversations, everything around conspires to keep us using words that impoverish the collective vibrational field. When we say that the world is lost, that people are bad, that no one is good enough, we are participating in the maintenance of this reality. We are feeding with our words the matrix of what we supposedly want to fight against. And the most tragic thing is that we don't even realize that we are praying, affirming, creating at every moment, but in an unconscious, automatic way, programmed by external patterns. This programming becomes even more powerful when it is associated with emotion. A word said in anger or despair carries an intensified vibrational charge. Therefore, cursing, insults, self-deprecation, and judgments have the power to intoxicate not only the field of those who emit them, but also of those who hear them. The emotionalized word is a vibrational bomb. It lodges in the subtle field and reverberates for hours, days, or even years. How many people are trapped by words said in moments of anger by their parents, bosses, partners, or teachers? Words that, like invisible thorns, lodged in their souls and continue to hurt, shaping their decisions, their insecurities, their boundaries. The reprogramming of the verb begins with the awakening of listening. Listen to what you say. Listen to what you think. Listen to what you repeat. Becoming an observer of your own language is the first step to reclaiming the creative power of the word. Each spoken sentence should be filtered through consciousness. Does this bring me closer to what I want to create, or does it push me away? Is this statement vibrating in the field of truth or in the field of fear? When you start asking these questions, something changes immediately. The mouth slows down. The thought reorganizes. The energy begins to purify. The miracle of conscious verb begins there, in the loving vigilance of what is said. To reverse destructive linguistic patterns, it is necessary to install new codes. And this is done through the repetition of conscious affirmations. It's not about lying to oneself, but about redesigning the internal script with phrases that carry the vibration of what one wants to live. Phrases like abundance follows me, I am guided by divine wisdom, my words build blessings, life conspires in my favor, are not just positive statements. They are seeds of reality that, when repeated with intention and consistency, begin to alter the frequency of the personal vibrational field. Repetition is the key to installation, and the more intense the associated emotion, the quicker the manifestation. Science confirms that the brain is neuroplastic. In other words, it can be shaped by new patterns of thought and language. Every time a positive affirmation is made, a new neural connection is strengthened. Over time, these connections form solid mental roots, which transform the way a person perceives themselves, how they interpret the world, how they react to situations. Language transforms the mind, and the transformed mind changes behavior, which in turn modifies external reality. It all begins with the verb. The verb is the origin of the new path. It is the starting point of a new version of oneself. Beyond the words we speak, it is essential to pay attention to the words we allow around us. Environments filled with complaints, gossip, judgments, sarcasm, and pessimism are toxic vibrational fields. Even if you say nothing, your presence in this environment already connects you to these frequencies, and the subconscious absorbs it. Therefore, protecting the verbal field around you is an act of spiritual self-care. Choosing who to talk to, where to expose yourself, what type of content to consume, all of this directly interferes with your creative field. Words are contagious. Collective language shapes the personal subconscious. Being in environments where the verb is elevated is a way to strengthen your own frequency. Stories of personal transformation often begin with a change in language. People who were on the brink of collapse, depression, bankruptcy, isolation, and who, by changing the way they spoke about themselves, the world, and life, began to reverse their destinies. It's not a coincidence. It's vibrational physics. The word is the rudder of the ship of life. Change the verb, and you change the course. The great masters always knew this. Jesus said, "The words that I speak unto you, they are spirit, and they are life." This was not poetry. It was pure spiritual science. Language creates the invisible structure upon which miracles walk. The conscious use of language transforms life into a vibrational laboratory. Each morning becomes a new opportunity to code the day with power words. Each conversation turns into a ritual, each thought into a command. It's possible to program the body to heal, the mind to prosper, relationships to flourish. All it takes is choosing words that support the reality you wish to live. Words that affirm, uplift, enlighten. Words that, like arrows of light, pierce the veils of limitation and open doors where there were walls before. This is the true miracle of the conscious word. It is available to everyone, but only the attentive fully access it. In the end, you are the programmer of your reality, and language is your source code. It doesn't matter what script has been imposed on you by childhood, society, or past experiences. Each day, you have the power to rewrite this code with your words. Words are choices, and choices shape destinies. There is no such thing as a harmless word. Everything vibrates, everything returns, everything creates. By taking responsibility for what you say, you reclaim the scepter of creation. You become the author of your story. And your voice, once forgotten or distorted, becomes the sacred instrument with which the miracle manifests. At some point in the human journey, faith and science were separated as if they inhabited opposing territories. But as we delve into the subtler levels of existence, we realize that faith, far from being just blind belief, is a measurable vibrational force, and even more, manipulable by the word. Faith is, by nature, a reality-collapsing energy. It not only sustains hope, it alters the field. And the word, when charged with this active faith, becomes the command that moves mountains, that transgresses probabilities, that breaks the cycle of the logical and inaugurates the extraordinary. The word with faith is a rupture in the programming of the impossible. Quantum physics teaches us that everything that exists is in a state of superposition until it is observed. This means that, at the most fundamental level of reality, all possibilities coexist, but only one materializes through the conscious interaction of the observer. This act of observing is not just physical, but vibrational. And when we verbalize with faith, we are making an observation with intention, collapsing a state among infinite probabilities and giving it shape in the visible world. The word spoken with faith is equivalent to a spiritual finger touching the fabric of reality and saying, "This is what I choose to experience." The quantum field, where everything is pure possibility, responds not only to will, but to the coherent vibration between thought, emotion, and word. Faith is the exact alignment between these three poles. When someone says, "I know it will happen," and truly feels it with their body, with their soul, with every cell, the word transcends the realm of common speech and enters the frequency of inevitable creation. Because in the vibrational universe, it doesn't matter if the desire is improbable, unlikely, or absurd. What matters is the degree of vibrational coherence behind the verb. When this degree is reached, even the known laws of physics bend. Studies such as those by Greg Braden, Joe Dispenza, and Bruce Lipton demonstrate that the human body intensely reacts to mental and verbal commands imbued with emotion. The combination of focus, feeling, and language alters physiological patterns, activates genes, reduces inflammation, accelerates healing processes, and modifies the brain's very structure. This is not a matter of supernatural miracle, but physics applied to the body's energy field. The verbalized faith activates specific neuronal centers, modifies hormones, alters the electromagnetic field around the heart, and projects a unique vibrational signature into space-time. This means that, with practice and intention, the word literally becomes quantum medicine. The placebo effect is one of the greatest scientific evidences of the power of faith over matter. When a person believes they are taking an effective medication, even if the pill is just sugar, their body responds as if the drug were real. This is vibrational creation. It is faith operating silently from a verbal suggestion received and processed as truth. But what if this suggestion comes from you yourself? What if your own words, charged with absolute conviction, could activate the same phenomenon every day? Faith, in this sense, ceases to be just belief. It becomes an inner technology of manifestation. The coherence between verb and belief is the secret to manifestation. Many people verbalize powerful affirmations, but carry contradictory beliefs within them. They say, "I am prosperous," but feel scarcity. They affirm, "I am healed," but vibrate fear. And this incoherence nullifies the efficacy of the verb. The quantum field responds to the dominant vibration, not to the isolated sound. Therefore, the word must be the faithful reflection of an internal reality already felt, already assumed, already lived internally as truth. Faith, in this context, is the bridge that transforms the verb into creative action. It is the vibrational fuel that gives life to the word. Loose words, spoken mechanically, do not possess this power. But words bathed in certainty, emitted with focus, breath, and consciousness, become creative commands. That's why spiritual masters spoke little, but with depth. Each word was measured, felt, vibrated. And behind each affirmation, there was a certainty so intense that the universe had no other choice but to respond. Faith does not beg. It declares. Faith does not doubt. It establishes. And when this happens, the impossible ceases to be a barrier. It becomes a scenario awaiting the issuance of the right verb, in the right tone, with the right frequency. When Jesus healed, he didn't ask if the person believed in medicine. He would say, "Your faith has healed you," or even, "Get up and walk." And in saying this, his word was not just a phrase. It was an absolute vibration of certainty. He saw the healing before it happened. He felt the transformation before it manifested. And his word was just the full stop of an already complete vibrational process. He didn't create at the moment he spoke. He had already created before, and the Word merely sealed the event. This is the true power of the Word when united with faith. It doesn't ask permission from reality. It transforms it. The physics of the verb operating with faith also explains why some miracles are instantaneous, while others take time. The manifestation time depends on the vibrational density of what is desired and the degree of internal resistance. When someone is completely aligned with the new reality and speaks from it, the manifestation is quick. But if there is doubt, fear, or internal contradictions, the verb needs time to clear the path, to reorganize the field, to dissolve resistances. Therefore, daily practice is essential. It's not about repeating for the sake of repeating, but about using the verb as a tool for constant alignment. Faith is also trainable. It is not a genetic inheritance or a spiritual privilege. It is a skill that can be developed, and language is its main laboratory. By repeating affirmations with full attention, by speaking to yourself with love, by declaring possibilities instead of limitations, you strengthen the vibrational muscles of faith. Over time, speaking with faith becomes natural, and the word transforms into a river of constant creation, a river that carves the impossible, that fertilizes the field of possibilities, that breaks the soil of doubt and sprouts the new. The word with faith knows no obstacles. It is, in itself, the miracle in action. This physics of faith does not require rational understanding. It demands surrender. The language of the Spirit does not need logic. It needs vibrational coherence. And faith is the language of the invisible. When we speak in this language, the veils fall, the paths open, the barriers dissolve. The word becomes a sword of light, a key to portals, a code for unlocking. And the impossible, this illusion fed by words of fear, gives way to the inevitable, the reality you dared to declare. Because in the quantum universe, the word with faith is the only law. Everything else bows before it. Miracles are not rare events reserved for holy books or the stories of great spiritual avatars. They do not belong only to the past or to extraordinary contexts. Miracles are natural manifestations of the right vibration, inevitable results of an internal alignment that expresses itself through words. Most people are waiting for big signs, instant healings, sudden changes, radical turnarounds, but they ignore the micro-miracles that occur daily as a direct response to the language they use. An unexpected invitation, an opportunity that arises out of nowhere, a symptom that disappears, a meeting that changes everything. All of this is already being created by the words you have been planting unknowingly. It is precisely because miracles manifest themselves in everyday life that many do not recognize them. They wait for the spectacle and ignore the subtle. But the subtle is the field where the word acts with the most precision. The word spoken today, even timidly, may be preparing a synchronicity for days or weeks ahead. A simple, "I open myself to the new" could be the vibrational spark that changes the course of future events. And "I free myself from the past" could initiate a silent process of emotional release that culminates in healing. There is no harmless word. Every sound emitted with intention acts as a catalyst in the personal quantum field, and this field, in turn, responds with almost surgical precision. Many of the most powerful miracles began with a simple phrase. Real stories reveal this clearly. A woman who repeated, "I am worthy of love" every day and, after years of abusive relationships, found a partner who respects and deeply values her. A man who, in debt, began to declare, "Money flows to me with ease," and saw his financial life radically change within months. A young woman who said, "My health is perfect, even in the face of limiting diagnoses, and today lives free from disease." None of these outcomes were random. They were direct effects of a verbal field cultivated with faith, repetition, and emotional alignment. The Bible is filled with examples where the word precedes the miracle. Christ himself would say, "It is done. Your faith has saved you. Go and sin no more." Not as suggestions, but as vibrational decrees. He spoke with authority because his word was born from a field of total connection with the divine. But what's most important is that he never presented himself as an exception. He said, "You will do greater works than these." In other words, he pointed to the possibility of everyone accessing the same power. The difference between those who experience miracles and those who don't lies in their relationship with the word. The verb can either be the whip that keeps the soul enslaved or the key that opens the doors to the extraordinary. When words are used to bless, praise, thank, and strengthen, they elevate the frequency of the entire energy system. Each sincere thank you vibrates like a prayer. Each I love you, felt as truth, heals invisible bonds. Each I can empowers dormant parts of the psyche. And this does not occur on a metaphorical plane, but in a precise energetic architecture. Words create neural pathways, but they also build bridges in the subtle field. Life begins to conspire in favor of those who speak as creators. Opportunities align with those who verbalize possibilities. The world opens its doors to those who use their voice as a channel of light, not as a tool of self-limitation. Entire relationships can be healed through words. The way we speak to others, and even more so about others, determines the quality of the bond. Words of support, forgiveness, validation act as a balm. And likewise, words of judgment, accusation, or irony contaminate the emotional field. Many deep wounds have been caused not by actions, but by ill-placed words. Reversing this pattern requires awareness, and it requires a commitment to healing through speech. Saying, "I'm sorry, forgive me, you're important to me," can untie knots that years of silence could not undo. The miracle of reconnection begins with the right word, spoken with truth. In the field of physical health, the verb also operates silently, but with increasing strength. When someone starts to say, "My body is strong, my organs function in harmony," every cell vibrates health. Something begins to reorganize. Even if the apparent reality doesn't change immediately, the field has already been affected. The body begins to react to the new frequency. Psychoneuroimmunology studies show that words and thoughts directly influence the immune system. That is, healing also involves learning to speak differently. The verb can be the medicine. And when verbalized with faith, it becomes healing in action. Financially, the verb is a watershed. Phrases like, "Money is hard," "I'm just poor," "This is too expensive," create a field of scarcity that feeds back on itself. Conversely, affirmations like, "Money flows easily," "I am deserving of abundance," "There are infinite resources available to me," reconfigure perception and, over time, attract circumstances compatible with this new vibration. Money is not only sensitive to effort, but also to frequency. And this frequency is adjusted by the word. The financial miracle begins in the mouth. The verb is the transmitter of the vibration that the universe understands as a request or a declaration of possession. Synchronicities are also direct results of the word. That message that arrives at the right time, that book that shows up exactly when you need it, that person who emerges with an answer. All of this is the field responding to the words you've uttered. Even thoughts verbalized internally have an effect. The mind creates images, the internal word shapes, and the field organizes events. When you start to say, "Everything works in my favor," the universe rearranges the scenarios to confirm this statement. Because the universe is an obedient mirror. It doesn't judge, it reflects. There are techniques that enhance the miraculous verb: writing affirmations, recording audios with power statements, repeating mantras, singing sacred words, visualizing achievement while verbalizing, using mirrors to reinforce the presence of the word. But no technique will work if the essential element is missing, the true vibration. Speaking without feeling is like scattering seeds on dry soil. But speaking with emotion, with anticipatory gratitude, with full presence, is like watering an invisible garden daily that will inevitably blossom. Consistency is the key. The verb needs to be sustained, it needs to be lived, it needs to be honored. Miracles are not random favors from a higher power. They are natural consequences of a vibrational field aligned with the language of creation. When you speak as if you already have, as if you already are, as if you already live, you become the embodiment of the miracle. You stop seeking signs and become the sign itself. Your life transforms into a silent testimony of the word in action. And wherever you go, seeds are sown. Doors are opened, atmospheres change, the word becomes presence, and this presence becomes a power of transmutation. You are already creating. The difference is that now you know. The life you live today is a reflection of what you said, believed, and vibrated yesterday. What will you say tomorrow? What decrees do you wish to plant at this moment? The verb is already in motion. Reality is listening, and the miracle has already begun to form in the invisible. All that remains is to keep speaking as one who knows. The word prays, and in praying, it creates. There comes a point in the journey where understanding is no longer enough. Knowing that the verb has power, that the word shapes realities, that sound carries creative frequencies, all of this loses its impact if it does not become living practice. The great turnaround happens when the human being stops using the verb only as an external tool and starts to incorporate it as an identity. When the word ceases to be something that is emitted and becomes what one is. To become the living verb is to embody the creative power in every thought, in every gesture, in every silence. It is to live in a state of continuous prayer, where the being itself transforms into the message, the miracle, and the messenger. At this stage, one no longer talks about miracles. One lives the miracle. Power affirmations are no longer recited merely as a technique. Each sentence becomes a natural extension of one's own inner vibration. The person who becomes a living word does not need to convince, explain, or prove anything. Their presence already carries the necessary coherence to generate transformation around them. The words that come out of their mouth are not thrown out randomly, but are born from a pure, full, silently connected internal field to the creative source. And for this reason, they manifest with precision. Life begins to respond with such constant synchronicity that chance no longer has a place. This state is not exclusive to saints, masters, or enlightened ones. It's available to anyone who chooses to live fully aware of their language. Yes, it requires commitment. It requires continuous vigilance, but above all, it requires authenticity, because the true word is born from inner truth. It cannot be forced, copied, or artificially constructed. It's the result of a complete alignment between what one thinks, feels, speaks, and acts. When this total coherence exists, the word ceases to be a word and becomes presence. It carries spirit. It becomes a living seed that transforms the environment, heals wounds, attracts the new, and dissolves what no longer serves. The spiritual identity of a human being is revealed through the verb. Each time you say I am, you are activating a creative identity force, and what comes after the I am defines the field that will be structured. If you say I am weak, this vibration becomes an order. If you say I am capable, a different reality begins to form. But when the I am becomes full presence, when you are peace, you are abundance, you are healing without needing to name it, then you become a living verb. The word ceases to be external. It becomes who you are, and who you are becomes the miracle in flesh and bone. Becoming a verb is to assume radical responsibility for everything that is expressed, not only verbally, but energetically. The word goes beyond sound. It is in the looks, in the gestures, in the unspoken intentions. It is in the way you get up in the morning, in the way you respond to the unexpected, in the way you treat those who can offer you nothing in return. The verb manifests itself in every micro-choice of the day, and all these choices say something to the universe. They say, I am ready, or I still do not trust. They say, it is done, or I still doubt. Each expression is a prayer, each act is a vibrational affirmation, and everything is in constant emission. By becoming a living verb, you stop worrying about techniques, methods, or formulas. All of this dissolves into the simplicity of being. You start to walk with steady tranquility, knowing that the field is listening all the time. There is no longer a need for control. Manifestation ceases to be an effort and becomes a consequence. The miracle becomes natural because the vibration is pure and the verb is clean. And thus, the universe, like a perfect mirror, continues to respond with fluidity, precision, and love. Reality adjusts. People change. Opportunities arise. not by magic, but by resonance. This state of living verb is not a final goal. It's an ongoing practice, a daily renewal, a silent commitment to presence, truth, and love. It's not about never making mistakes, but always being willing to correct course, observing the words that slip in haste, the thoughts that still vibrate scarcity, the automatic expressions that reveal old patterns, and upon noticing, bring light. Correct with kindness, rewrite with firmness. Every moment is a new opportunity to realign with the sacred verb that dwells within you. And this process, far from being burdensome, is liberating. Because the more you align, the lighter everything becomes. Becoming a living word is also becoming a channel. It is allowing a higher intelligence to speak through you. Often, words will emerge from your mouth that you don't know where they came from. Phrases that heal, that awaken, that deeply touch someone. This happens because the living word does not belong to the ego. It is an expression of the source. It flows through you when you are clean enough not to block its flow. And so, you become an instrument, not by effort, but by surrender. You speak because something greater wishes to be said, and this something greater knows exactly what, when, and how to speak. Living in this state means assuming the role of an active and conscious co-creator. It's walking as someone who knows that every sentence is a construction tool, that every thought is a brick, that every word is a breath of life. At this level of consciousness, there is no longer room for complaints, judgments, ironies, or empty words. Everything becomes sacred, even silence, even the intervals between one sentence and another. Everything is part of the vibrational composition that is continuously manifesting your world. And you, now, are the composer. You are the author. You are the embodied word. By becoming the word that creates, you also become healing. Healing for heavy environments, for broken relationships, for wounded hearts. Your presence begins to emit soundless words. Your eyes speak. Your energy communicates. And those who approach feel it. They feel that there is something different. They feel that there is peace, that there is coherence, that there is power. And all this without a single speech. Because the living word no longer depends on the mouth. It expresses itself through the field. And in this field, miracles become routine. Abundance becomes natural. Healing becomes permanent. Connection becomes constant. All because you decided to live as the very language of the miracle. Finally, the verb that creates is love in action. Not the romantic love, limited, conditional, but the cosmic love, which includes everything, that respects time, that embraces mistakes, that illuminates the shadow. This love is the matrix of the creator verb, and by choosing to live as a living verb, you choose to be an extension of this love in the world. You speak and the world heals. You affirm and reality bends. You whisper and the universe responds. Because now, you are not just saying words. You are the word. You are the verb that was in the beginning. And the verb was with God. And the verb was God. If you've felt the impact of this living truth, now it's your turn to speak. What was the word that has most shaped your reality up to this point? Share in the comments. Your story could light the way for another awakened soul. Remember, the most powerful manifestation happens when we co-create in unity. By commenting, you're not just writing, you're activating, you're vibrating, you're manifesting. And if this video touched something deep within you, don't stop here. Click now on the next episode that is appearing on your screen. The Book of 33 Steps, the Hidden Map Jesus left for enlightenment. Dive even deeper into the hidden path left by the one whose words made the universe bow. The journey continues, minds unfettered, and the verb is now you.